In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the terrain editor that's part of the C4 level editor. So I'm going to work with the demo.world that we've seen in the previous videos. What I'm going to do is replace the platform in the left zone with some rolling terrain. The first thing I'm going to do is make a frame for the terrain to kind of be contained within. So I'm just going to drag out a few boxes that will become walls. Just size them appropriately. Oops. Okay, and then I'll copy and paste. And then rotate. Just quickly make some walls here. I did another copy and paste. So this will just make a quick and dirty fence around where I want the terrain to be. Leave room for the walkway. Copy that. Okay, now save and play, just see what this looks like. Looks like we're missing one of the wall pieces here. Probably underneath. Oh, there it is. Actually, yeah, I do have it. Okay, so that will serve as the walls, and then I'm going to replace this floor with the terrain. I'll go back to the editor. The next step is I'm going to make sure the terrain page is showing up on the ribbon. With this tool, you can draw out a surface that you want to be a terrain block. So I'm going to select this button called terrain block and drag it out just slightly larger than the ground surface that I currently have. It brings up this build new terrain dialog. I'm going to choose create flat plane, but you can also import images that will give you a starting point with like a height map. So I'm going to stick with the default terrain size. I'm going to double the height of the voxels to make it a bit taller, and we can make bigger hills essentially if we increase that number. Then it'll build the terrain for me. Okay, let me move out. Alright, so you can see we have our terrain in place. It is a little bit high right now, so I'm going to move it down, which I believe I'm going to need to increase the size of the zone a little bit. So I'm just going to scale this down, and then select my terrain block. I'm just going to slide it down until it looks right. So just looking in the perspective view, okay, it looks alright. And after that, I can now start interactively modifying the terrain. So I'm just going to show you some basics here. Once you have your terrain defined, you can select additive, subtractive, or smoothing brush. I'm just going to use the additive brush. I use the spherical brush shape. You can also make one that's a cylinder. And then you can pick which plane you're following or modifying. So I'm actually going to pick follow surface. What this will do is it'll always add to whatever surface you're currently on. So if you've already added a hill, you can add more to the top of the hill. If you use the follow plane, you typically it limits how deep you can make your valleys or your how tall you can make your mountains. So I'm going to just go ahead and crank up the brush radius here, and then all I have to do is just click. You can use any of the views. Perspective view works well. It's easy to make changes to the map. It's not necessarily easy to make it look good. So it takes a lot of work, but I'm just going to quickly move the mouse and generate some changes. Anytime I click and release, if I'm using the follow surface mode, it will then register the current height, so it'll add on to whatever the current height is. But if you leave the mouse down, it won't add more at that height level. So it'll only increment the height one time, and then it'll stop. But every time you release the mouse button and click again, so it'll go higher and higher until you've run out, to the maximum. So I've made kind of a blob-looking little hill there. I'm going to stop there, save and play the world. You can see that I have the terrain here. Actually, let me. I'm going to go back and add a infinite light so we can see a little better. I'm going to go copy the light that was in the right zone, and it's now going to be now on the left side. So let's go back and try it again. Save and play world. Okay, so now we can see it a lot better. Okay, so initially I tried to make a fence around the terrain. You can sort of see the reason why that would be a good thing to do. Just because the terrain is basically just one sheet of material that's deformed. So usually you'd want to add like some kind of border or just block the game, the player from going, where they could see the edges or the sides. So that was the purpose of the fence. So you can see, also tell that this doesn't look all that great. I just quickly clicked and made a big mess here. So you probably want to be a lot more careful on how you draw, and probably you'd actually want to start with a height map. But you can definitely make rolling terrain. It takes a good bit of work, but you can certainly do it. So that concludes this video.